Hi, my name is Tamara, and you are watching Things Even a Monkey Should Know. Thanks for watching again today. As you know, if you've watched some of the other videos, I am not a professional at this do-it-yourself stuff. I'm just a girl who's figured out there are a lot of things around the house and in the yard and on the cars that I can do for myself instead of calling someone else to do them and paying them a bundle of money to do it. So today we're going to be replacing an electrical outlet and working with electricity very respectfully. So let's get started. So as always, first we're going to go over the things that you'll need today. First thing would be a little something to plug into your outlet just to make sure that it works. I just have a little night light. You can use a radio. I mean, it doesn't matter, anything that plugs in. You will need a voltage tester. They don't all look like this. This is a voltage and a continuity tester, so it does two things, but the main thing that we're concerned about is voltage. You can buy them for as little as $8 to $10 at the store, at the hardware store, in the electrical section. If you don't know exactly what to get, just ask someone, tell them I need to test a plug, and see if it's on or off, and they'll be able to direct you to the right thing. This could literally save your life, so I would highly, highly recommend getting one. You'll need some pliers. I have two sets. I'm using needle nose pliers today. You'll need a replacement power outlet to replace the one that is faulty. And you will need a screwdriver, and since I have not been into this yet and I don't know which I'll need, I have both Phillips and a regular screwdriver. And of course, you will need the faulty outlet. And not shown here, you will certainly need to know where your fuse box is so that you can turn off the breaker to this outlet. So you know how your mom always told you not to stick things in electrical outlets because it could shock you and kill you? Well, that is totally true. However, this is the one thing, a voltage tester, that you can stick into an outlet and it'll be okay. And in fact, you want to, because you want to make sure, of course, that the outlet is working, that it's on, or that it's off. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this little prong here into my outlet, which you cannot currently see so well, but I promise it's under there. And what's going to happen is the lights are going to light up. Did you see that? I know it's sunny out here, but there the lights are off and they're on again. So I know that that outlet works, and I'm doing it also to the top one. You should do it to both outlets just to be sure that they work. So we know right now that the power to the outlets is indeed on. So as you can see, I'm standing in front of my breaker box. This would be the point when your whatever you have to test your outlet out there would come in handy. And come to think of it, especially if you're doing this by yourself, I would recommend a radio or an MP3 player that does not run on batteries, or something that plugs into the wall that you can hear so that you're not having to flip switches and run back and forth to see if your outlet is off yet. Now fortunately, mine is labeled, so I know exactly which switch to flip, or which breaker to flip rather, to turn it off. So now it's off. Let's go double check that with the voltage tester just to be sure. Back at the outlet again, the one that we just flipped off. And I'm happy to see whenever I plug the put the voltage tester into one side of the outlet that it does not indeed light up. So that means that, as I thought, I did have the correct switch flipped off. So now that we're for sure that the outlet is off and we're not going to get shocked or killed, now comes the fun part when we take off the plate on the front. And hopefully you're doing something a little more straightforward than mine. If you're doing a normal household indoor outlet, there's one screw in the center of the plate, similar to what I just took off here. Since I am doing a double, and I've got two to unscrew, and now my plate just came off. If you're doing an indoor, you will not have this additional layer of foam. This is to make this outlet watertight and able to be used in the outdoors. As you can see, I'm not bothering this outlet. It was on the same breaker inside though, so I do know it's off. But I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the top and bottom screw here. Whoops. Actually, this is where my other screwdriver could come in handy. It does fit a little bit better than just the regular one. And I don't know if you can hear all those crows out there, but there seems to be something really exciting going on in Crowland. Okay. So we don't have to save these screws that I'm taking out because the new outlet does indeed have its own screws. Those are awfully distracting crows. Okay, now we have the screws out. I'm going to go ahead and pull the electrical outlet out. It may be a little hard to pull. So, as you can see, it is quite a little wiry mess here. And just take note of how the wires are attached, or not how, but in this case, of course, we're doing the side type of wiring. But take note of where the different wires are attached to the current outlet so that you know exactly where to put them back. And you're going to have, these are what's called the hot wires. These are what make the power actually, well, this is what can really shock the crap out of you, to be honest. There's also a grounding wire and then a neutral wire, which is the white wire. So just know that you need to have a lot of respect when working with electricity. That is, again, why I used the voltage meter to make sure that this thing was off, because voltage meters don't tend to lie. So everything is now disconnected. Looks scary, doesn't it? It's really not. And now I'm going to put the new outlet on, and I'm going to start with the grounding wire. Hopefully. And these are not going to be easy to put in, I'm not going to lie. But it doesn't actually take that long to do. It's totally worth it to do it yourself if you feel comfortable with it. Just pinch that in a little bit more around that wire, and then I'm going to tighten it down about as much as I can by hand. There's the ground. So sometimes you might have a little bit of a hard time getting these wires wrapped around these screws when the screws don't want to stay out. So what I did was I went ahead and I pulled the whole wire mass out. You can see I got the grounding wire in easily enough, but I'm having a bit of a hard time with this neutral, so I need these screws to stay a little further out here. And I did unwrap this wire just a little bit, because again, you can always wrap it back, and if it gets a little scarred in the process, it's not a big deal. The only reason that it wasn't scarred to begin with was because if this has never been changed before, the electrician who put it in, there we're getting it, would have been the first to wrap it, so naturally it wouldn't have gotten scarred. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hold that screw in place, and I'm going to grab that wire and wrap it. Just, whoops. So you can see it is a very awkward operation. I think I need my bigger pliers because those are not, they do not have a wide enough jaw to actually grab both sides of that wire. There we go. Now I've got it curved back around there. So now that I got that in, I'm going to go ahead and screw it in making sure to keep it tight because you want to make sure that the wire does make that connection. And I'm going to stop and I'm going to squeeze it tighter again so that it is indeed wrapped all the way around that screw. And yes, if you notice the wire nut came off the massive wires there, not a big deal, not worried about it. Very happy to have that wire on there. And I will just go ahead and replace this little screw in here, and all that this is where all the wires are tied together, and it came unscrewed because I pulled it all out. This is just a wire nut. This is how the wires look when they're all amassed together so that they can all make a connection. So I'm just screwing them all back together too. Sometimes things happen as you're going along and you just roll with whatever it is. I'm very happy to say that the neutral wire is put back in, put on, and it's tight, and the other little screw is replaced. Now I do like to, before I put the protective covering back on the outlet, I do like to flip this on, make sure that there's no smoke or anything coming out of the outlet out there, and also go ahead and test it and just make sure that it's working. So we're going to go ahead and flip the switch and see what happens. Okay, I was really totally kidding about the smoke. I do not ever expect there to be smoke whenever I've done one of these because I know that I do them correctly. But just to be sure, I'm going to go ahead and stick the voltage tester in here. And since these are an external type of plug, a nice expensive little type of plug, it does have a little guard in there, so both sides have to be pushed in. But as you can see, the lights came on, so we know that the top outlet works. Now let's go ahead and test the bottom outlet, and the lights came on for the bottom outlet, so you can see that too. And whatever it was that you used to test earlier, you can always plug that in and check it. Let's see. So we can see the light is on there, and it's on for the bottom one too. So that's great. So that means that we can finish putting the plug back together now. Okay, so I'm back at the fuse box again, and you know how I'm always a huge advocate of being safe? Well, before I screw back on the outlet cover, I'm actually going to flip the outlet back off, because you may say, well, this is silly, but what if something happened? What if you slipped and your screwdriver touched one of those hot wires, and then you are a fried chicken? It is not worth it. All that I have left to do is put my foam protector back over the outlets and then put my outlet cover on. So did you see how easy that actually was? I know that I had a little extra trouble because my outlet that I got, which was the nice, expensive, approved for outdoor use and spraying it with water and everything else outlet, I couldn't take the screws out of the sides like you usually can, so I wasn't able. If you can take them out of the sides, then you can just take and you can wrap the wire around the hole, put the screw right in, you're done. I had to monkey around with it a little more. Still didn't take that much time, so it's totally worth it to me. All in all, if you have to buy a voltage tester and you're buying, say, an outlet that costs about $1, you'll spend, say, about $11 to replace your own outlet. And of course that cost gets spread out the more that you replace, and as you only have to buy the voltage meter once. So it's pretty worthwhile. But of course, as always, if you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, call someone else who is comfortable doing it. But if you are, I hope you learned something here today, and I hope that you saw that it's so easy to replace an electrical outlet that you can, yes, even do it in 5-inch stiletto heels. So I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Thank you very much to everyone who already has, and I hope to see you next time. So until then, have a great week. Bye.